All right, great. Cool. Okay. Well, happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on how to optimize your SEO. For those who don't know me, my name is Karen Gordon. I am the VP of Growth here at Goodshuffle Pro. And today we're talking about SEO and the website wishlist integration that we offer. So as a quick note up front, if you don't have the integration yet, there's still plenty of things that you'll learn today. A lot of what we're talking about is going to be very relevant for anyone with a website, really. But we are going to specifically gear it towards how you can, things you can do and action items you can take with the website wish list in particular. Of course, if you don't have the integration yet, we should also chat after. I would love to help you get set up with that. But let's go ahead and chat a little about why are we even talking about SEO? I know it's such a buzzword. People hear it all of the time. One thing that I think is a little frustrating is how often people kind of skip over what are the action items. They kind of get into the mechanics and how it works in the back end. And I oftentimes see people get lost in two ways. One, they get totally focused on just one component of it. You know, they become obsessed with their detailed descriptions of their items, or they become obsessed with their blog, or it's something that they get a little too stuck on. The other thing I see is people just kind of say, forget about it in general, because it is so overwhelming that understandably some folks say, you know, I don't get it. So something I really want to start doing is being really clear on what are the things that matter? What are the action items you can take today? What are some impactful decisions you can make for your website and for your SEO? So today we're going to chat first about landing pages, why they're important, what they do. We'll talk about, of course, winning the keyword game, which, as we all know, is a big component here. And we'll talk about finding powerful backlinks to your website. We'll go over some important reminders, some of the kind of basic elements we want to make sure everyone's getting as well. And then I'm hoping to leave plenty of time at the end for Q&A. At that point, we can talk about SEO. We can also just talk about the wish list in general for those who have questions. So please feel free to drop questions in the Q&A section as I'm talking, and we'll make sure we get to all of those at the end. So let's dive right into landing pages. The what and the why about landing pages. So landing pages are basically just pages added to your website. And they're really meant to help you maximize your keyword wins. So one thing that I think some people struggle with processing is that not everyone is out there just Googling Jen Smith events, Dallas, Texas, right? Maybe if you're a really great networker or something like that, maybe everyone is, but most people probably aren't searching for just the name of your business. And so landing pages are a wonderful opportunity for you to really dedicate your focus on what kind of keyword wins you want to get. So some of the examples of the types of things you might do with this would be creating landing pages for your popular items. And you can see I've even pulled some real user examples here. Popular items, obviously, you're going to have the names of your items, you're going to have descriptions of your items. People talk a lot about that, but you should also be thinking about how are people searching for your items? Do they know the term pipe and drape? Or is your user base more looking for backdrops? Let's take that a step further. Is your user base looking for ceremony backdrops? Is your user base looking for trade show booths? Those are all things that might include pipe and drape, but it might be that they use a different terminology for it. These types of things you can do with landing pages without having to change the item name, without having to create multiple of an item just so that you can win the keyword. You can actually create a scoped page that showcases these things. And with our integration, you can show the same item on multiple pages. So you can scope a page to trade show backdrops, to wedding backdrops, and showcase the same type of pipe and drape. Another reason you might look at creating landing pages would be popular event types. Let's keep in mind that most people out there are not going into their search and searching for a specific item. They oftentimes are starting with something like their type. This is also a really great opportunity for you to showcase the different things you do. I know a lot of times I hear from people that they have this notion that they want to create 3 different sub companies. They want one for their corporate events and one for their weddings and one for their kid parties. And I'm constantly reminding people that is not necessary. In fact, that's going to hurt your SEO by dividing your brand rather than building up a whole brand beneath you. But I do think what you should do is scope your pages for those different things. Obviously, if I'm searching for stuff for a wedding, I might not want to see kids parties on that same page. So you can scope a page and create an experience And then you can direct traffic that is relevant to those landing pages, whether that is doing ads for kids' birthday parties that go straight to your kids' birthday parties, or creating a blog post about weddings and having it go back to your wedding collections. Anything that can go to the appropriate landing page rather than having to create a whole new business to discuss a specific type of event. Another option is creating scoped pages for popular venues that you work at. And you can even see here, I pulled an example of one of our users who was on a recent webinar we did about SEO and the wish list. And I thought, wow, this is so great. He did such a great job. He went ahead and created landing pages for the venues where he's a preferred partner so that folks who are already scoping out that venue or already booked that venue would find him as a preferred partner for rentals above any of their other preferred partners. Great, great, great idea. I actually pushed him though to even take it a step further. I pointed out that keep in mind in Goodshuffle Pro, you can create packages for something like this specific venue. He could create a Edgewater Beach Resort uplighting package or, Edgewater Beach Resort ballroom rentals. And what you can do is that landing page could even be broken out to first say, here are popular packages for this venue. Showcase exactly what people typically order together for that venue. And then beneath it, you could still have, and here's our full inventory. You don't have to force them into it, but remember, a lot of people want the hand holding. They don't know where to start, particularly for someone like him who's doing lighting. A lot of folks are not as familiar with what they need for lighting. So what a great opportunity to use something like Goodshuffle's packages, where you can then showcase that on the landing page up front and then continue to build beneath with a bigger scope of here's also all my inventory that you can shop. So these are just some examples of landing pages, but as you can see, these are a wonderful way for you to guide the right traffic to the right places and for you to win the keyword game. But you need to make sure in creating landing pages that you know some of the basic elements that are needed in order for them to get properly recognized. So H1 and title tags are basically the main heading and subheading of the page. I like to say these are not the place to get cute. So these should be very keyword driven. And we'll talk on this a little bit later, but there's always going to be a little bit of a balance when you're building out your website on the notion of getting keyword focused language that the bots will like and sales focused language. And it's hard because you don't want to jam in a bunch of keywords on your page. First off, the bots will actually ding you for that. They're so smart now that they will notice that you are keyword stuffing, as it is called. But also people don't like that. It reads for a very clunky website. You can usually tell when people are doing it. So you're always going to have a balance of the sales and the keywords. But if there's one place not to have that balance, where there's one place where you should really just be keyword focused, it is in your H1 and title tags. This is weighted as the heaviest thing that they're going to be searching for when they are trying to direct the right search traffic to your site. So, writing some "we razzle and dazzle" up there is not going to be the thing that people are searching for. You can talk about that a little later on the page. You're also going to want to consider your headings. So in addition to your title and your subtitle, you have probably parts, particularly of a blog post, but also of your page, where you're breaking out topics. A common mistake I see people make is that they simply bold all these things. If you're looking at this, this just looks like I bolded my title, kind of like you would do in, Microsoft Word or whatever you're writing in. There's actually code that is needed for the bots to recognize something as an H1 title, a title tag, a header. But don't worry, you do not have to learn how to code. If you are using Squarespace or Weebly or WordPress, any of those, what's so awesome about those types of platforms is they build that in on the back end. So when you see options that look like this and they've got some of these kind of crazy symbols next to them, that just means that if you select that option, they're going to go ahead and do the hard work for you. They're going to do the coding on the back end. But it's really important that you select those options, because even though to the naked eye, you might think, well, when I do that, it just looks the same as when I bold it. That's fine. It looks that way to you. It does not look that way to the bots. Another thing you want to be feeding those bots is called the slug. That's going to be what's at the end of your URL here. An example here I have is corporate events. So that would be a page like the example here of an event theme. One of the things that's really cool about the Wishlist integration is we include the item title even in the item itself. So there's actually a unique URL for every single item on your page. And that would then have your main URL. It would then have, in this example, corporate events as the keyword. And then on the specific item, it'll also have the name of the item. So it might say the pipe and drape, it might have the photo booth, it might have any of that combined with the landing page URL. So it has both keywords, the event type and the specific item. It's also worth noting that by having a specific URL like that, people ask us all the time, is my item detail page being crawled? And the answer is yes. A lot of times there are things that pop up on websites that aren't considered to be crawled by the bots. And so when you click on an item with the website wish list, do not worry, those are crawled. So our plugin is so advanced that it'll actually have the item detail, the attributes, all of that is getting crawled by the bots. So you can rest assured that all of the descriptions you're doing, which we'll get to in just a moment, are actually working in your favor there as well. So coming back to this example I have here with these corporate events. And by the way, I put together this example on a Squarespace site in about 3 minutes. That's how long it took me to build that page. So this is very, very easy to create a landing page. It is not something where you have to do anything crazy. I created it just specifically for our webinar today. But you can see I very quickly was able to include the slug, the H1 and title tags. You can't see beneath, but I did actually break out some headers. And some examples of headers you might do for this might be all-inclusive corporate event rental packages. Because again, that is going to be something that's a really big appeal for most of your users. Also, you might have below that, choose your own rentals. Give them options. You can go ahead and win on both of those fronts. It is really important not only for your organization, but so that you can win on these essential elements. So now that you know that these are such essential elements to pages, a quick reminder for everyone is think a little bit about how you can use these essential elements for your utilitarian pages, your how it works or about us page. Think through if it might make sense for you to change how it works to how to book my event rentals. Probably a much stronger chance that somebody is Googling how to book my event rentals. And we'll talk about how you can find out what they're searching in a moment. You might also consider changing about us to work with friendly event experts. Contact us can become Houston area headquarters. Now, that doesn't mean that from the main navigation, you need to have Houston area headquarters. You can have contact us be what they click because people are mostly looking for the contact us. But remember, it's what's in your H1 and title tags that is going to be crawled. And that might be a wonderful place for you to sneak in the name of your location. So we're talking a lot about how landing pages can help you win the keyword game, but let's talk more about the specific keywords. First and foremost, you should be using tools. It is not a guessing game. There's no need for it to be a guessing game. There are tons of tools out there to help you figure out these keywords. A lot of them are free, and a lot of them are the freemium model, which for those who don't know means that at least there's a version of it that's free. They then might start saying, hey, you could pay a little more and get these cooler features, which is always tempting, but there's at least some part of it that's free that you should absolutely take advantage of. So here I've got a list of some free and freemium tools. We also have a blog post here that we can send to everyone after the webinar today. That is a really nice longer list of all these tools. Worth checking out at least your Google Search Console and Google Keyword Planner. These are legitimately telling you exactly what you should be including on those landing pages we just talked about. So you may already be thinking of a bunch because you know your clientele super well. And I'm guessing many of you are saying, oh my gosh, people always come to us searching for certain things. I know that we would win off of a, destination wedding package. Great, but you may be surprised when you look at your keyword planner and when you look at your search console to see what wording people are actually using. It may be that just like I tripped up on the word destination and said vacation, maybe they are looking at vacation, in which case, what a great opportunity for you to win that keyword. So make sure that you are checking out these tools. The guessing game is only going to get you so far. Now, once you know those keywords, we've already talked about they should be on your landing pages, but there's other places you should make sure you're using them as well. So in Goodshuffle Pro, you have the opportunity to create a web description for every single item. Some people get a little intimidated when I say words like every single item. Keep in mind, you can do this gradually over time. Typically, the system will just default to putting your contract description on the website. Great, easy, good for a lot of things. But you also have the opportunity to think through, I want to put event types. I want to put services that are included. It may be stuff that, look, if I'm going to put, I know people are searching for micro weddings and elopements, and I really want to make sure that I get that in there. Well, I don't want that on my contract though, because if I'm working with someone and they're not doing a micro wedding or an elopement, it'd be very confusing if I sent them a contract description that mentioned it. So that's what this differentiator is for. It is specifically so that you can say on contracts, I just want to describe the item. On the website, I want to make sure I'm getting those extra keywords in there. It can also help you avoid duplicate content. So, I see people who get really excited that they have really detailed descriptions on all of their inventory on their site, but they're just copying and pasting and you're seeing the same thing over and over. And it's actually not super great for you to have the same thing over and over because that is seen as duplicate content, which can ding your score. So what you can do is if you have pretty similar items and pretty much you're going to describe them on the contract the same way, like this pillow is the such and such pillow, and I have it in 16 sizes. So really there's nothing different other than the size. Think about how you might use the keywords to describe a little bit differently. This really goes well as part of a set. The large ones look good in this type of corner of a couch. The small ones look good as a throw to put with 3 stacked on top. Use your creativity. This is where being in a creative industry, we work with lots of professionals who are super creative, and this is a good time for you to take advantage of such an opportunity. You can also create scoped pages for different item types, and you can use this for things, as we mentioned, like your type of event. We can use this for a venue, but you can also use it as a way to try and win a snippet. You know how convenient it is when you say like, who was the Olympic gold medalist this year? And it just comes up at the top with the answer. You don't even have to click on a page. That, my friends, is called a snippet. That is the ultimate SEO goal. If you are the recipe that comes up for roasted Brussels sprouts, that blog is getting you all the traffic you could possibly need because people like myself are just looking for the first one that answers the question of how long to roast the Brussels sprouts. So similarly, there's actually some pretty cool opportunities in winning snippets if you look through your Google Planner, if you look through your Search Console, and you get kind of creative with it. So for example, I was talking to someone recently, one of our users, who was really just kind of bending over backwards trying to create more details in all of his heat lamps, in his heat lamp descriptions. And I said, well, wait a minute, why are you doing this on every single item? Have you considered creating a page where you write more of your frequently asked questions for how do you handle these heat lamps, how to rent them, things that restaurants near you that are doing the outdoor seating are searching for? What if you answered such a unique, commonly asked question, which again, you can find in the Google console, and you answered it on your site and you became one of the top answers for that? And then guess what? When they get to that landing page, not only does it answer a question, it says, rent a heat lamp today. And it has all your heat lamps tagged on that page. The wish list allows you to do that. It is one line of code that you copy from our documents that says tags equals heat lamps. You tag it on the back end, heat lamp page. Very easy to do. And that is going to get you people who are really excited because they are searching for that specific thing. You are offering them an answer and you are offering them the opportunity to immediately go and submit for a rental. This is also a cool thing if you think about the fact that, as I mentioned, the item itself also gets crawled. So if you do have people who are searching for the make and model and the specific type of heater, that page now is an opportunity to win for an FAQ or a question and answer type situation, an education answer. But the individual item itself, when you click that, that's also getting crawled. That description is getting crawled. That slug is getting crawled. So you have the opportunity to kind of double win in that way. Now we talked a lot about landing pages. I think it's also really important to remember that blogs are still a great opportunity. This is a way for you to have evergreen content. It's also a great way for you to pick relevant keywords that might be a little more seasonal or something temporary. For example, if I write a post about trends for weddings in spring 2021, I might not want to pop up another landing page every single season. It's a much more of a blog post than it is its own dedicated page. But you can still have these pages still get crawled, and these pages can still include bits of your wish list. These still can include items that people can get excited about and immediately rent. If I'm reading about my spring 2021 wedding and I'm learning, oh gosh, that would be cool if we put, you know, sanitation stations or any kind of our hand sanitizer in a terrarium. What a clever idea. I want to be able to immediately click something to do that. And you can provide that in a blog post. You can even do it for things that are regional and super specific. So I might say, congratulations, graduates of Stuart High 2021. Write a nice little post about how you went there. Write a nice little post about how we always know how stressful it is if it might rain, might want to book a tent. And then you can have all of your tents right there, ready for them. It's a beautiful sales tool, in addition to being a wonderful SEO tool. And of course, you want to consider these for things like real weddings, styled shoots. A lot of folks go back and forth on how many styled shoots to do. I think the biggest thing is if you're doing something like that, or you're paying a photographer for certain photos, whatever you have, you want to maximize them. You want to showcase them. And blogs are a great way to do that. And you can scope them. You can say, throwing it back to a styled shoot we did a year ago, really loved the way that we worked with these chairs, and then just feature the chairs on that blog post, rather than every blog post linking them back to your whole inventory. If you're just talking about chairs and you're just winning that keyword, and I'm someone who's then Googling, how do I rent peacock chairs? I want to be able to see exactly what you're talking about there. And so the more specific, the better. And that's where blogs really come in. So another reason to blog is that if you're really being very specific, if you have relevant topics, other people are more likely to backlink to you. For example, coming back to those heat lamps, if you were to reach out to someone who had a great post about heat lamps, they're one of the people who comes up when you search it in your area, you might be wanting to reach out to them and say, hey, will you link back to me? Well, if you're just asking for an ad back to your heat lamps to rent, they might say, like, why am I going to do that for you? Or they might want to charge you for it. But if you have a little bit of a give and a take, for example, if you say, hey, I noticed that you have something about heat lamps. I wrote a great FAQ about this. Maybe it's a manufacturer. I wrote a great FAQ about the types of things you need to rent these. Maybe they'd say, like, great, we get these questions all the time. We'd love to be able to showcase some additional education for the folks that come to our website. Now you've given them something in exchange for that ask. You could even have a planner who's posting about 2021 trends, and they want to link back to your specific post, because then they don't have to write another blog. It's also really good for everyone to share across. It is not good for anyone's website to only have internal links. We always want to have, our pages link out too. So if you were to write a post and you saw we had a relevant blog post, we'd love to link back to you. That's going to be good for both of us. You also can write guest blog posts. This is a bit of a plug for us because we love getting content from our users. But guess what? You don't have to try and convince us to link back to you. If you ever write us a blog post, and you can even write it in bulleted form, and my awesome marketing team will reword it and kind of zhuzh it up for you. So you don't have to worry about making it fancy. But if you wrote in some tips of your own and you send it to us, we will say this is a blog post by name of your company. We will link to your page, and we can even link to a specific blog post that would go with it. These backlinks to your website, these are really important for your SEO. And one of the things that I think is so great about it is it doesn't mean that you have to have a blog every week for your own blog. It can be that you can't do duplicate content. You can't use the same content you've used on your own blog, but you can certainly use inspiration from something you've written, write something somewhat fresh and send it to another blog post. It's going to make it extremely easy for you to get that backlink. And then again, you have links to your specific items. So if you have a planner in the area who's really prides themselves on, I provide all these different things, or you're talking about the spring wedding trends, you might say, hey, would you mind just where you talk about the peacock chairs that you just link back to my peacock chair as an example, really help them. It might be that they just want to take your picture because they want to use it on their page. Say, yeah, sure, but you just link back to where they'd get that specific peacock chair. It's going to help them explain to their brides, grooms, whomever, that this is a peacock chair, this is what I'm talking about. But you can actually go directly back to your specific item, which again, when you're getting people excited about something specific, you want to then hand them what they're looking for. So those were the action items I wanted to get through today. I want to talk about some quick, very important reminders, and then we will switch to Q&A. I see some people already dropping some in. The first is, and I say this a lot, so I apologize for those who've seen other webinars where I see it, and I've literally used this slide. Don't forget location. It is now becoming just like this thorn in my side pet peeve when I go to event professionals' websites and they have no location on them. If you are truly doing events worldwide, great, awesome, kind of cool, jet setter, fine. But most of the time you're not. Most event professionals, even if they're willing to travel, are going to be based mostly in one area. And I can't tell you how many times I'm on a website, and sometimes it's because, you know, it's someone that we are talking to, and I'm looking to say, oh yeah, I wanted to talk to the CEO of that company today. And I'll say, well, let me make sure that I'm not disrupting their time zone. You know, I'm on the East Coast. I'm aware that, you know, 9 a.m. is going to be too early if you're on the West Coast. And I'm looking at their website and I cannot figure out where they're located. If it's inconvenient to me, I can only imagine for the people who are planning in their area. Not to mention, you're just losing the SEO because everyone is going to be wanting to search for their area. Another reminder, a couple more reminders. One is, I already mentioned this, but balance that sales language. This is tough. There's not a magic formula to it. Make sure that you are not getting into the keyword stuffing. Make sure that you are not getting into the razzle dazzle, try too hard on the sales language and then I'm missing the bots. You kind of have to remember that your audience is bots and humans, and you need to kind of be speaking both of their languages. The navigation on your site needs to be easy. You shouldn't have links on the top to every landing page we've talked about. In fact, some don't even have to be on your main navigation. Some can just come straight from an ad. I don't want to get to a site and have no idea where to go. You should be really clear on every site. What is the main call to action? What is the main thing that I'm driving them to? And then you should have a navigation when it looks, if you look at site mapping, that makes sense. It should make sense to users. It should make sense to bots. Also, as I'm rattling off all these ideas, I want to make sure it's really clear that building over time is completely a normal thing to do for businesses of all sizes. So if you are looking at this and going, I don't have time, you know, events are swarming back in right now. I do not have time to build every event type, every venue, things like that. That's fine. Make a note somewhere of the ones you want to do. Go look at those tools, which is my next tip. Look at where you're really getting traffic and prioritize appropriately. I don't really get a lot from the venues around me. I think that's a cool idea. I'm going to make a note to do that before the end of the year. But what I'm really going to prioritize in this next month is I'm going to focus on just the types of weddings that I get. Because I get a lot of weddings. That's what people are looking for. I'm going to do a quick page about micro weddings. I'm going to do a quick page about this type of wedding. I'm going to make sure that I start blogging a little bit about some trends. And I'm going to include wish list links on each page so I can get more people using that tool. Done. Like, that is an easy step one, and there's clear steps that can follow. And again, don't forget to use those tools. Don't just guess. And remember, for those who maybe aren't using Wishlist yet, who maybe are reviewing this recording later, the Wishlist was built specifically for event professionals. So when people are so surprised that, wait, if I build a package in Goodshuffle Pro, it's going to give me the option to show the components or not show the components. Yeah, just the same as the contract. Or wait a minute, you're telling me that I can actually showcase a specific event and show on that landing page every single rental that was used for it? Yeah. You know, I have these conversations with folks and I say, you know, that you can put accessories to an item and have them show up on that, almost like an upsell opportunity within the actual wish list. People are so surprised, but my answer is, you know, we built this for you. This is a tool that is specifically built with this type of business in mind. And I have to always share this quote now because it just made my day. Our user Scott, who had said he wasn't so sure about the wish list, he thought it might be a little too much work up front. He got it live within minutes and then sent me a follow-up note saying, hey, I just want to let you know that within 2 hours of it going live, we had our first request. Goodshuffle rules. So a little bit of a brag here at the end, but wanted to share that just for anyone who's either hasn't started it or has started it, but sort of, again, feeling overwhelmed by all the options. This was someone who put something together within a couple minutes. They put in the basic landing page, the basic version, didn't customize it yet, maybe changed a color or two on the page, but was already getting more business within 2 hours. So gradual can be great. Go ahead and build the basic version and then continue to build more keyword focused landing pages in the future. So with that, my goal is to keep this under 40 minutes and I got it even shorter. So hooray. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast for anyone, but I'm now going to switch over to questions. My goal is to make sure we had lots of time for questions. It's kind of a dense topic sometimes talking about SEO. I want to make sure anyone who has questions goes ahead and asks those in the Q&A. Okay, so Matt asked, if you are embedding products on pages, does the individual product show, the individual product listing show up in search results, or will it only show pages that are on your website? This is a great question. The answer is yes, it will show the individual product. So I was testing this with people on the phone not too long ago. I looked up a client that I knew in a specific area. I knew they offered throne chairs. I wrote in event rentals in the area, I think it was Savannah, Georgia, and I said throne chairs. And I think the second result that came up was the link to their throne chair through website Wishlist. So that is what I'm talking about. When I talk about things crawling the specific items, it's not just that these are keywords juicing your whole website. The actual page, the actual landing page itself is its own page. So we are automatically building those pages for you. Do you know if MailChimp allows you to convert their content into blog posts? I write an email every week, but was thinking it would probably be better to do something like that in the blog. Great question. I don't know, Mary, if MailChimp has that feature. Definitely worth looking into. One thing I just generally tell people is always ask about a feature. We have that at Goodshuffle, right? Sometimes someone will ask us a feature, like, yeah, it's been there all along. So definitely ask. If not, it might be pretty easy for you to convert that, but I agree with you. If I were you, I'd write the blog post and then send out an email that says, we've got a new blog post with a link, because you want to be increasing your traffic to your website. Having people read your emails only does so much good. You really would like more people to be trafficking your website. That's what we're really trying to bump up and juice up here. So I would maybe do a quick little intro that makes it enticing, encourages them to click, and actually drive them to that blog post. And again, in that blog post, include a couple of items, because you're going to get people jazzed about whatever you're talking about. You might as well show them. It might just be, hey, look at the new things we ordered for inventory this quarter. And you have those examples right there. They might go ahead and click them on the wish list right there. It also just provides a more interactive experience for the blog. All right. Any other questions today about SEO or the wish list? I'm not seeing any on the chat. Well, with that, I'm going to let everybody enjoy their day and let you go early. Please, as always, feel free to reach out to me directly, Karen at Goodshuffle, or shoot us a chat in the blue bubble if you have any questions at all. Very, very happy to get people, help you get set up, answer any one-off questions about your website in general. As you can tell, and as you probably know, we are really passionate about empowering all of our users and all of our professionals with better tech. So very excited to get everybody's website in tip-top shape as best we can. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Thanks for joining us.